right, welcome back, everyone. Always so exciting to have the Fordham Rams on the show. We've had a lot of great players. You've been on the show more than any other coach. We want to thank you for that, Brian. Coach Brian Backrack joining us here. Dude, good to see you.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me on again.
Yeah, of course.
This is getting fun.
You've been all the talk. I mean, it is a lot of fun. It's fun for us too. You've been all the talk in water polo for the last couple of years. Let's recap a little bit before we get into 2026. 2024 Wall Street Journal article, which is up here on my wall because I got to be quoted in the Wall Street Journal about Fordham. You know, story of the year, undefeated season, incredible. You didn't play an MPSF team that year for reasons that don't matter. You lose in the semifinal to USC. 2025 rolls around. You play UCLA and you get beat. You play Cal and you get beat. You play Stanford and you get beat. You win all your other games. And you lose in the semifinal to USC in another rematch. Okay? You're really hurting USC because, no disrespect to UCLA, but it ain't fun playing Fordham Rams in the semifinal, okay, of an NC2A tournament. You've got a lot going on for you this year. We're going to get into your schedule. You've got some great trips. But before we get into that, I want to talk about the recruiting that you have been doing so diligently. You and Ilya, I'll tell you what, arguably the best pair of recruiters, I think, in the country. And I don't say that lightly because I think there's some pretty good recruiters in this country. You guys have done a great job. Any high-level overview on your class before we start getting into the players here?
Well, I'm definitely not going to judge myself against my peers. I'm just trying to do what we can to continue to find what we think our roster needs, and try to add to that. We had a strong spring. I think our guys listened and really took to heart what they understood and felt like where we fell short in 2025. And I think number one, and it was obvious, was just our strength up the middle. We got beat. The 2-meter defenders on USC and the other Big Four were bigger than us and stronger than us. Same thing on the other end. The 2-meter D position and against their centers. So it was clear that was an area that not only did we want to address through recruiting, but also that we wanted to address within our own squad and guys getting better. We bring in guys into our program that we believe are going to improve over the period of 4, now we can talk about it, but 5 years possibly now within our program. It was clear to me that was where the number one area we needed to get better, and I was pretty proud to watch us go. And we didn't go against all the top centers in the country, but when we came out to Pacific Cup, we did a good job at those positions, and it was clearly better than it had been in the fall previous. So I was proud of our group for what they were able to accomplish over that period of time. I'm excited about what we're also adding, obviously, and that's what we're here to talk about tonight, is what we've added to the group to help further bolster that spine, but we also are adding a lot of players in other positions as well.
You certainly are. And maybe before we even get into what you're adding this year, you've got a number of players that are playing in the U20 that are on the team already, in European U20s, that have been part of their national team programs for some time. We'll mention a few. Diego Tressa and Alessandro Salaponte for Italy have really stepped up their game in both National League. Both were very good in National League, and are part of the Italian U20 squad going to as part of the European Championships this last week.
Going in Bulgaria. It's in Bulgaria.
Bulgaria. Excuse me. It's in Bulgaria.
And I think when this airs, that tournament will have been ended, and so we'll see how they did.
Yeah. You've got Andras Toth, who was a first-team All-American for you, was part of National League, and has been a staple for the Hungarian junior team, U20 youth team. I mean, he's been all over the map.
Every level, yeah.
Every level. I mean,
U15 through U20.
Incredible talent he is. You continue to add really solid talent. Those three obviously standing out the most. And as we get into your recruiting class, there's more here that we are very fortunate and honored. Let me start off by saying thank you and leading with gratitude for allowing us to, honestly, to break this news. There are a couple players on this list, as I bring up the slide here, that nobody knows about. And we are thrilled to be the ones to bring this to you. And I'll start at the very top. Viktor Savic of Serbia, a 6'7" goalie. And Karlo Dragocevic, the top player for Croatia at the World Cup in Australia earlier this summer.
He had a great World Cup at that senior tournament. So.
And I want to let everybody know how incredible that is, because that Croatian team has a guy by the name of Vlaho Pavlic, who was the top scorer, I think, in like the whole tournament. And they've got a center who has kind of shadowed Carlo for a long time, Viktor Torcinic, who's an outstanding, go back and watch U20 World Championships in 2025. That guy was dominant.
Yeah,
absolutely
he was very good.
Dominant. And so Carlo, a huge pickup for you. Viktor, a huge pickup for you in the goal. Start with those two. We're breaking this right here. This is brand new news to the world, because this has not been announced on your Instagram up to this point.
We haven't announced either guy. That was their choice. We respect our athletes. When they want to publicly announce what their intentions are when they're coming to the U.S. Both these guys wanted to put in their time this summer without the distraction of what they were doing next, and so we respected that and decided not to announce until that tournament was over. Carlo, as you mentioned, was picked for the World Cup roster for Croatia. They took a young roster to that tournament. A lot of U20 guys were on that roster, but they also took a few guys that aren't going to be on the U20 roster as well. So, it was great to see him recognized and picked for that group. And honestly, he played great. I really enjoyed watching him perform against, all the FTC guys from Hungary, the Barceloneta guys from Spain. He played great over there.
Yeah.
And so I was really happy to see that, because you're right. Like when we watched him, my staff and myself spent a lot of time watching the U20s from 2025, I guess it was.
In Croatia. Ilya was there. I got to see Ilya while I was there doing the broadcast. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we were texting during all the games because I wasn't there live, but I was watching every game on YouTube while you were announcing, and Ilya's watching it live. He had a great tournament. Carlo did. He didn't get a ton of minutes because Tomcinic is a top flight, center. But I thought he used his minutes as efficiently as anyone on that roster. I mean, he would go in and draw an ejection, and it was like, this kid is special, and getting to see him start and he had a ton of time this on the senior team this summer was a great step forward in his development, I think. So very excited about him joining us. And then Viktor, another kid who I think also has been overshadowed a little bit. If you go back and watch the national teams that he's played on, which he's played on U15 through U18, and I went through a lot of those games. He wasn't always the starter. He was the backup on a lot of those teams. So you think, okay, he's maybe there's something there, but I was very impressed with what he was able to accomplish and in the minutes he was given. And honestly, I'm biased, but I thought he should have been starting in some of those tournaments. And I was very excited when he said he wanted to join us, and I feel like he's going to really help bolster us in the cage for many years to come.
Yeah, and a huge pickup being part of that Serbian national team squad.
Yeah,
I think everybody is behind Gosic right now, and for him to be a part of that squad, really, he's fighting for one spot, not two, like in a lot of other places. I want to go back to Carlo. So first off, Viktor Savic, huge pickup for you, big time goalie, which is something that every team needs, is a really good goalie, and I think we're seeing it even throughout the MPSF how important that is. Now,
yeah.
Carlo Dragocevic. Another center for you in a long line of really good centers, Brian. You picked out Barnabas Epa.
We got a lot of depth at that position now. So,
yeah, Barnabas Epa coming back for another year.
Got one more year.
One more year with him.
Diego, who's going to be a sophomore, and Reed Thorson, who's been with us for 3 years now as well, coming back for his fourth year. So we got a lot of depth at that position.
Yeah.
And we haven't always. And I think that's something we're really excited to get creative with, how to utilize these guys in different ways and create matchup problems and figure out how to take advantage of all the talent we've been able to bring into our roster.
Yeah, huge congrats to you. These are big time. I mean, these are big time centers. These aren't like numbers 24 to 36 coming in. These are numbers, number 2 center, or number 10 on the team type of thing. These are big time signings, and it's honestly great to see more and more of these players coming over. As you can see, a lot of players here are foreign, and we'll keep going now. I'm gonna move to the second row now. I want to talk about Balázs Báthori and Liam Rogers. Both are your defenders coming in before we get to the attackers. Báthori, part of the Hungarian national team kind of development program, if you will. Talk to us about these two pickups. Both are pretty tall. I think Báthori lists at 6'6" and Rogers at 6'5".
I think for both of them.
About 6'5".
We'll see when they show up. I always measure them when they get here. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
They both have got a lot of length and size. Balázs is he's one of his best friends and former teammates is Christoph Magoni, who's one of the goalies on our roster. Yeah. And when we were looking for defenders, Balázs was in an interesting situation. He's a sophomore at the University of Szeged. Probably could have moved up to some of the higher level teams in the OB1 Hungarian league, the top league in Hungary. He chose to play for a place that he could get a education while that comes with some you have to make some choices basically in Europe if you're going to do that. I think another one that kind of wasn't on people's radar, but I think he's got a ton of talent. He's got a very nice outside shot, didn't make some of the Hungarian national team tournaments, but if you look at who he was behind, several of those guys are playing on the senior team for Hungary now.
Yeah, he's behind Vince Varga. Which is like he's starting center defender for Ferencváros, which is Champions League finals, and he's behind some serious talent in that.
When you look at that, you go, okay,
yeah,
I guess
I understand.
And so I tried to do a little bit more research into who we're bringing in, specifically from where they've been playing. Like you kind of tell, this guy can really play. Like he's he sent me film of him against FTC, and it's like he's holding his own against those centers. So
yeah,
it's we'll see how he adjusts to the college game. It's not as physical as it is over in Hungary, but at the same time, the talent's there, and we knew he was a good fit from just talking to him. He's a very, kind of a quiet guy, but he does have a lot of confidence, and I think that fits right into who we are as a
Yeah.
program.
I mean, he shot 16 for 35, 16 goals and 35 shots, 46%. Um, that's not
He
bad
also
in the
he
in the
also
first
had an
division.
injury. He also had an injury towards the end of the year, which he's
Yeah.
recovered from. So,
Yeah, so only
um,
19 games, so 16. He's
yeah,
for a center defender to put up almost a goal a game. I think you
yeah,
take that. I think you
yeah,
take that, and at 6'5", the length there, shot blocking,
yeah,
reach is amazing. I'm reminded of the great center defender of Kashash Tamash back when we played Brian, and how great he was at 6'7". That length really plays.
yeah.
Let me ask you this: how did you find him? How did this come about?
That's a good question. It was actually he Christoph mentioned him to me at a practice one day, um, and said, "Hey, are you looking for a center defender?" And I said, "Actually, yes, we are. And we got a few who we're talking with, but nothing is finalized at the moment." Um, and and he said, "Well, I have a good friend and teammate that I think would be interested." And I said, "All right, go get your phone, give me his phone number." And so, we started texting immediately. I got on a phone call probably last fall at some point. Was a process to get him, through there's a whole international transfers are their own like
Yeah, because this is different than
animal.
a freshman coming in. He has what, 3 years of
Oh,
eligibility left?
he has 3 years of eligibility.
Yeah.
Yeah. Coming in as a sophomore, second year. Yeah. No, wait. I'm sorry. With the new 5 year, I think he's coming in as a junior transfer. So he'll have 3 years. But
3 years.
in any case, I get it confused. We went back and forth on it so many times. But in any case, we had to go through that process. It was long and it was hard. And honestly, he did everything we asked. Started studying immediately for the English exam, with the Duolingo, all that stuff. That there's such a long process that these international um, athletes, and then add the transfer element on top of it. And funny enough, he's already actually enrolled at Fordham because we found out that he was going to be one class short of where he needed to be, and so we got him enrolled in a online class this July at Fordham, and he's already doing well in school. So,
Great.
yeah, it was a process.
Amazing. So we'll look forward to seeing his name in lights here as things progress, as you continue
Uh,
to kind of
and then you
reinforce,
mentioned Liam.
yeah,
So,
that spine, and we go
uh,
to Liam here.
yeah, yeah, Liam, similar build, similar in a lot of ways to Balaj. Um, he's long, he's fast. He has moved up through the Canadian national team system. We saw him at West Valley, and got a couple chances. A big fan of Willow's out there at West Valley. He is always willing to let us watch a practice, or come, invite us to whatever. Basically, he's like, "You want to bring your team to scrimmage? Do this." He'll let us do. He's always fighting for his players,
Yeah.
and so I love that about him. And yeah, he's a really good kid. But he's got size, he's got speed, he's got all the things you want in a center defender. Comes from an area in Calgary, in Canada, that doesn't have a lot of high level water polo. So in
Probably
terms
more
of,
hockey.
yeah, yeah, a lot more hockey, that's for sure. um, so I think he's a guy who's going to develop a lot over the next couple of years that we have with him, and I think has the talent to be able to contribute at the Division One level, but we'll definitely be learning a lot in the beginning. But that's okay. We needed a guy with size, and we needed a guy with speed, who could help us, clog up that middle as we talked about.
Yeah, for sure. So two defenders, both will have 3 years of eligibility if memory serves, or Liam will have four.
I think Liam, yeah, I haven't looked at it, but I think Liam has three. It'll be something we have to figure
Yeah.
out. But he comes as after 2 years at West Valley.
Yeah. Another transfer here, Laszlo Strasser. We previewed it in a different episode earlier. He's already part of, I think, Fordham, correct? He's already there.
No, he hasn't joined yet, but he's a
Okay.
grad student. He's a grad student.
Okay.
He will be starting his master's in finance. He was out the 2024 season with a shoulder injury that he's recovered from. As you can tell from his stats last fall, he scored 100 plus goals at Wagner. He's he's a funny kid. When he entered the portal, it was kind of like a sigh of relief, so that we didn't have to go against him anymore. And it was like, all
That's
right,
one way.
let's see if we can add this kid. And honestly, from the very beginning, I didn't know him. Like he's a killer in the water, but he is a total gentleman outside the water, and honestly, incredible student. Close to perfect grades at Wagner. Just won every academic award, as well as all the awards that he could be given athletically as well at Wagner. And so he comes to us, and we're excited to have him for one season, and add a little bit of depth on that 4-5 side of the pool for us.
Amazing. So 3 kind of transfers coming in, adds a little maturity to your squad, which you're a little young, right? I think you'll have Andras and Luca coming back as juniors now, but a lot of sophomores on this squad.
Yes,
as
exactly.
you graduated quite a few. Now, somebody who's been part of your program since January, and we had the pleasure of having him at LA Athletic Club in the spring, is Vuk Kojic, who I could go on for days about this kid, just as a human, let alone not to even touch on his water polo experience. But my impression and experience with Vuk has been first class all the way. What an unbelievable pickup for you. Another member of the U20 squad from Serbia will participate, I believe. We're recording this before U20 Europeans, but will be I assume, part of the U20 Serbian squad in Bulgaria.
I think it would be a major mistake if they didn't take him.
Yeah, for sure. Huge pickup for you. Talk to us about how this came out. And correct me here. Does he have 4 years or 5 years? We're all trying to figure this out.
I think he's got 5, actually.
Oh, my goodness.
Interestingly enough, because he started after the season. So you would fast forward to the next year, and he's 19 right now. So 19 plus 5 years, and that's how it works now.
There you go.
So, but yeah, Vuk, I think the thing that I have enjoyed the most about getting to know Vuk is just his level of intensity that he brings to everything he does. He did play for you guys at LA, but if we want to tell the whole story, I told you no.
That's right.
I told everyone no. He's not allowed to play National League this year, or this spring, and it was for good reason. He was coming in. He joined us in the spring because he wanted to start focusing on his academics, and he there was some other things, like he didn't have the English score when he first when we were first started recruiting him, all that kind of stuff, and like the kid is determined. Like he didn't stop. I mean, he was living in a very small town in Serbia, and no one there spoke English. And he's doing it all on his own, and just was determined. And he came in with that same determination and intensity from a school standpoint
Yeah.
this fall. I'm sorry, this January. And by the time we got his midterm grades, it was like, all right, we can we can let this guy off
Off the leash a
the
little.
leash a little bit,
Yeah.
and he couldn't have been happier because
Yeah.
the first he gets to get out to California and it's winter in New York and it's sunny and it's beautiful and he's playing with all these great players on LA and
Yeah.
so he was loving it. But with that said, um, he also brings an incredible intensity to our
Yeah,
practices,
he does.
and the guys knew it from the very beginning. Like it doesn't matter if it's a 825s sprint warm up. He's gonna win, and the shooting drills, whatever, passing drills, he wants to win. And at first, I think our guys were a little taken aback, and and then after a while, I think they realized this kid just cares and wants to get better and is determined to do so. And it became it just brought up the level of everything we were doing in it. And I give him a lot of credit for injecting some like uh, real intensity to what we were doing last spring, which I think we were missing the year before, and and brought out a lot of competitiveness in all of our guys. So that combined with his just very incredible water polo talent, we couldn't be happier to have him.
Yeah, again, my personal experience with this guy is just nothing but amazing. The intensity, his memory, he studies the game like
Yep.
nobody I've seen. And even, we pick him up from the airport, we go to the hotel. He's talking to me about every player we're going to play against. He knows everybody's bio, everybody's height, everybody's age,
Yeah.
everybody's like it's amazing how
Yeah,
focused and
that's what I'm talking
intentional he
about
is.
from an intensity standpoint,
Yeah,
and you need that in a program
yeah,
if we want to be the best, and we've set that standard for ourselves at this point. Uh, you need players like that to
yeah,
who don't let anyone off the hook ever,
yeah.
and including themselves. When it comes to everything about what they do in life, and
Yeah.
so
How we do one thing
very
is how we do everything, right?
yeah, that's
Um,
right.
all right, so let's jump now. Bern Kent. This is an interesting story. I've known Bern for a couple of years myself. He went to Hungary and played for a year,
He
um,
did.
and
Yeah.
is now back in the States going to a big program, a top 5 program in Fordham. And Alejandro Helene, a goalie out of Harker, which is a little known school in Northern California, not known for its water polo, but he's
Nope.
really come on the scene. And I believe was part of the Stanford team that took bronze at the U18 JOs this summer.
They fell short in the bronze medal
They
game,
got fourth.
unfortunately.
My mistake.
Yeah,
You see how much
but
I follow youth water polo.
fair enough. But he had a heck of a tournament at JOs. They won futures, which is a big accomplishment. Stanford did, and he was chosen as the MVP, defensive MVP or goalie MVP or whatever they give out at that tournament. But he uh, he was on no one's radar, I don't think, at least from what I understand. Um, After his junior year, he just Harker isn't one of the programs that many of those teams recruit at, and he just joined Stanford Club last summer, and I saw him as he progressed just between over his junior year, going into his senior year just by joining Stanford, and I was like, this this isn't going to stop. I mean, he just started taking shots against the best players. Like he's only going to get better from here,
Yeah.
that has proven correct, and I am very excited for him to join us. Yeah, between him and Victor, I think we've got a great goalie core going into the future. And so I am very excited for him to join us. And then Bern, you kind of mentioned the story. Byrne had some offers as a coming out of high school, and I had the opportunity. It's funny. I was at a Olympic Club practice.
I've
This
never.
was
You
about.
can't say that on this show.
I'm sorry, but I was there, and I see him, or I didn't even realize it was him. He looked like a new person.
Yeah.
He was stronger, he was bigger, he was shooting harder, and I had watched him a fair amount as a junior, and I go, "Who is that guy?" I asked one of the guys. His name's Byrne Kent. I go, "That's Byrne?" Like I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
And then he told me like a few weeks later that he had decided he's going to go play in Hungary.
At
And I
Baby
said,
O'Shea.
yeah, and I
Yeah.
said, okay, this is interesting. And the kid just from the very beginning has been tenacious in terms of uh, his development as a player, and you want to put people like that in your program and give them an opportunity to see how far they can take it. And I think he's only getting better. I got to watch some of his film from what he's done over in Europe. And it didn't stop in Hungary. He actually spent the summer playing in Montenegro. So
Yeah.
um, he's relentless, and I think that's going to be just like we talked about with Vuk. I think that's a contagious thing, and when you bring that into your program, it only brings good things.
Yeah. So two big pickups here on the Northern California side. We don't see a lot of that. I know you're from Northern California, Brian, but we don't see a lot of Northern California guys making this kind of jump, just simply for whatever reason. And I think it's an untapped treasure trove of talent in Northern California. But it's a really good class this year out of NorCal. I will say that. So excited to see how these two do. Petar Kulash, a right-handed attacker playing the right side, very long, part of the Croatian
Yes.
national team development. Talk to us about Petar, and we'll have one more after this before we get in the schedule.
Yeah. So Petar, very strong academic kid coming in, and doesn't hurt that he's 6'6", and those arms are so long. But he's had he's another guy who I think fell off a lot of people's radars because he just is still developing in a lot of ways. Like he's still growing into his body. You look at him and he's still very skinny. I think the guy's going to put 50 pounds on in his time and you won't notice it at all. And well, you'll notice it, but in a good way. It won't be fat. And he is he's played for the under 18 team for Croatia. We got a chance to watch him there. He got called up this summer to the senior team for Croatia. We'll see whether or not he makes the under 20 roster for Croatia as well. Was one of the leading scorers for the Croatian under 18 tournament, national championships. National champion in Croatia. He's kind of done it all, and we just think that the kid's got a ton of potential. He's fast. He's long. I think he has the potential to eventually be a really great defender at the college level, whether that's center defense or perimeter defender. Just adds a lot of versatility. I don't really call him a right-handed attacker. I really call him more of a utility. And we just haven't figured out exactly how we're going to utilize him yet, but that's why we are very excited to get him here.
Yeah, and another big pickup for you. You've gone really heavy on the length here. Victor at 6'5", Carlo at 6'4", 6'3", Balaj at 6'5", Liam Rogers at 6'5", Vuk Kojic probably 6'3", 6'2", 6'3".
Yeah,
Kulash is what, 6'5"?
He's 6'6", I believe.
Okay, so sorry, yes, don't
yeah.
mean to take away an inch from the guy, but incredible. And we haven't even talked about this next player, really, who, my personal opinion, after scouting, watching a lot of these guys, I think people underestimate how much film we watch here at Water Polo Wednesday. Octavian Vekliuk, a Ukrainian-born, now playing in Italy. He
Funny
scored.
enough, funny
So,
enough, he's actually Hungarian born and
Hungarian-born, but he's actually
grew up in
Ukrainian.
Ukraine. Yeah,
Okay.
he grew up in Ukraine. So he
Well,
grew up. He was born to Hungarian Ukrainian parents, and born in Hungary, moved to Ukraine at a young age, grew up in Ukraine,
yeah.
and then moved to Italy for high school.
Okay. And now is playing for Genoa Quinto. He was the
Yes.
top scorer for Genoa Quinto, scoring 56 goals this last season as an 18-year-old player.
Yeah.
Mind you, that is one fewer goal than Max Irving. Okay,
He
so
was neck and neck with Max all
Max
year.
Irving the whole time. He's right there with Felipe Ferrero, who's part of the senior national team for Italy. We are
Yeah.
not. He's. Let me put this in perspective. He's 3 goals behind Alvaro Granados
Yeah.
in scoring in the Italian First Division, and he is 18 years old, 6'7". What I'm calling a 5-star recruit for Fordham. I don't know where you're going to go with this, but there's only one ball, and you've got Luca Provenciani, Alessandro Salapante, Andras Toth, Diego Tressa, Carlo, Octavian, Kulash, Vuk. Man, it's incredible what you've done here. Talk to us about Octavian. This is an unbelievable pickup.
Yeah, we're very excited about Octavian, as we are with all these guys. But yeah, he had a great season, a really great season. The beautiful thing about the A1 league is that they play on Saturday mornings. And I think my sons think I'm crazy because every morning when they wake up, I'm up watching A1 water polo. And they're like, Daddy, we want to watch Paw Patrol or
Yeah.
whatever.
Paw Patrol's a bit favorite in our house
I was
as
like,
well.
all right after this game's over, guys.
Yeah.
So I got to watch him a lot. And I got to watch him a lot last year as we were recruiting him. And yeah, I mean, he's a very gifted scorer. Also a guy who's long and I think is still growing into his body. 6'7", as he said, and is going to have, I think, a lot of great years ahead of him in the sport. And we couldn't be happier that he decided that this was the place he wanted to play.
Yeah, and I'm going to be at your games at Brown to open the season at the Bruno Invite, and I am so excited to see what you kind of have compiled. They won't look much like a team at that point.
They won't, because they don't all show up until after the European Championship. So it's going to be it's going to be a little ugly, I think, in the beginning. But
so that'll be interesting. But it will be very exciting to meet and see all these guys who aren't around earlier in the year to kind of get to know, if you will. So really impressive class, Brian. Again, hard to argue with the success you guys have had on the recruiting trail. Now it's about kind of putting it together against some of the teams. Some key games for you. Once again, you're opening the season against Pacific. Big time event. You also get Davis in this Bruno Invite. I don't have them on here, but they're in the WCC now. So is Pacific. So is Pepperdine. Good luck, WCC. Arguably the most competitive. I think WCC and MPSF are going to be the most competitive conferences in America in terms of just how close the talent is. Conferences. You've got Pacific, who's always dangerous. You've got Davis in the Bruno Invite as well, who's the former Big West champion, now moving to the WCC, and for my money is probably the favorite in the WCC, all on your opening weekend. Talk to us about some of these games, how this is going to work. I know you're a big fan of this Princeton home and home tournament games away. About these.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, Princeton and us have won several conference championships in a row, and I think both will be competing for them again. And it's I think it's awesome that our home Princeton games have always been well attended. It's just an incredible environment, and I'm very thankful that Dusty and I have figured out a way to create this home and home matchup with each other, and really showcase some of the best players in East Coast water polo. But yeah, as you said, we opened the season right off the bat with Pacific. I went back and forth on, whether we should just take that weekend off and train our guys, or come out of the gates playing Pacific and Davis. Um, and we decided to go for it, and because these teams make the effort to come out here, you got to play them. We got to take advantage of that opportunity. Um, couldn't be more excited about our two home games the weekend of nine. That's actually the 20th. Oh wait, 25th anniversary of
9/11.
9/11. We're going to be playing Pepperdine that night. Um,
Can you
and
do it in Yankee Stadium? Could you set that up for us?
that would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
But we're playing Pepperdine that night. It's going to be a packed crowd. I am very confident of it. First time they've come out east to play us. And then on Sunday we get San Jose State. It helps a ton that Princeton is hosting their invite, and these teams kind of looked at it and go, well, we can play Fordham at home and Princeton at home, and go to their invite, probably pick up one or two other games, and it's a great weekend for them. So very excited about that opportunity and getting to showcase what we've got on the East Coast, which is it's not always every year that you get this opportunity. So thankful to Merrill and Gabor and James and Dan for making the trips. And then down at the bottom, we also go to UCLA, and we've got Long Beach, but then that's in September, and then we're taking a second trip. But this says 10/6, but it's actually November 6th.
Oh, my mistake.
Yeah, that's okay. And the weekend of 10/6 and 10/8, we're going to go out and just play Cal and Stanford, which we've never done before. We've never just gone out there and played an MPSF team. We've always added other games, whether it's before or in the middle or after, and so it's something different. We're trying. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because you and I have talked a lot about these trips out west and how one trip packing so many games, 4 games in like 7 days.
Yep, that's what we've always done.
You've always done it, and it's whether or not good or bad, it just is what it is. However,
yeah,
I think what have you learned from? You've changed this up, right? You're coming out twice. You've got Cal, Stanford, you've got UCLA and Long Beach, as you called out, on a different trip. And then potentially NC2As if you win your conference, which I'll say Navy has done a good job recruiting.
They got a good class.
They've got a good class. So no guarantees, as you always tell me in that Mid-Atlantic. But what was the learning that inspired these extra trips? Because it's more cost, twice as much money.
Yeah, you're 100% right. Well, I first have to thank my administration and my alums. Now, they listen, right? They heard me that, like, if we're trying to go and step up to the next level, we need the opportunity to handle, going to the West Coast and being able to focus on just trying to play the best of the best. And traditionally Cal and Stanford have been the best of the best. And so we're getting that opportunity this year. And so I'm very thankful to, those who helped make this happen. I was talking to one of our donors, and I said, one of the things I really want to do is take a second trip to California and be able to play just the MPSF teams if they'll play us. And Cal and Stanford jumped on immediately and said, this weekend works. And he said, great, we're doing it. And he made it happen. And so I couldn't be more thankful to those donors who are behind us to help make this second trip a possibility.
Yeah, it's it takes a village, and it's really the unsung heroes of these programs
Yeah,
are these
but if
alumni.
I said his name, he would be upset with me.
Yeah,
It's
no,
like,
and I wouldn't ask you to, but I think
yeah,
it's a salient point for all programs and people out there that, like, look, if we really want this thing to take off, if we really want our programs to have opportunities like this, it's we're not a revenue generating sport. We're not sitting here like football generating $1 million a game, 2 million a game, like we're
yeah,
at the big house. It's something where we all have to step up and support these programs. And honestly, that's how football also started, was people were donating money, and that's why
yeah,
there are buildings named after people at schools and athletic houses and all this good stuff.
yeah.
So it's really cool that you've done so well to connect with your alumni base and your administration to bring everybody on board with your success, and you've worked really hard to achieve this. I don't think people know how difficult it was your first few years getting
Nope.
players to come to Fordham and whatever else. So you've come a long way, Brian. Now, the obvious question is this: the last 2 years, you've basically been a really solid fifth. You haven't lost to anybody below you, and you haven't beat anybody above you. So nobody in the MPSF, and nobody, you haven't lost anybody in the WCC or the Big West or anywhere, Princeton or whatever. So, Brian, how is this year different?
Well, hopefully, I think a couple things. The first, um, I think we're taking steps in the right direction. You never know fully, if you're doing the right things until you look at them in hindsight and go, yeah, that was a mistake. But uh, I can name a few of those from last year. But the looking at where we've fallen short, and then it's about the talent that we're bringing in and continuing to develop, right? I think that we are getting better from year to year. Individually, players are getting better year to year, and I
Mm-hmm.
think that we continue to bring in more and more elite level talent. And as you saw, it's a big class, but it's a talented class.
It
So
is
when you combine those
extremely
two
talented.
things, it's incremental. The development that you have to make to try to get to that level. Um, I I mean, going back, I know it was a long time ago now, 20 plus years, but when I was a sophomore at Cal, we finished seventh in the MPSF tournament. Um, and 2 years later, we won a national
National
championship.
championship
So,
off a tip-in
so
at LMU.
yeah, yeah, good memory.
Well, I
So
was there.
yeah, but it was it. I learned from that experience. It wasn't one thing that was like, okay, now we're all of a sudden going to be national champions. It was
Yeah.
small things that and looking at what Kirk did during those years, and who he brought in and how those different athletes helped bolster us to get to that point, and made us better and stronger and deeper. Um, all those things came into play, as we were moving up the ladder, in my time there. Obviously, Cal had done it many times before that, but um, and so I look at it similar to what we're trying to do. Just trying to get better year in and year out. I think if you look back at 2021 and my first recruiting class and what we did over those years to get to 2024, we not everyone was watching it, but we were slowly getting better, and those players were slowly figuring it out. And then we lost a lot of those guys. They all graduated, and we had to rebuild right away.
Yeah, a
And
lot of
that
turnover.
was a learning experience of, like, how do we try to maintain or get better than the level that we were at, while mainly playing with a lot of young guys.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was a learning experience. So all these things, I think, add into it, um, and hopefully we're moving up that ladder slowly but surely, and we'll see. And if not, then we'll go back to the drawing board again and try something different. But I got a great staff, and great administration and great alumni base that are behind us. And I think all, as you said, it takes a village, and all those different pieces are doing different things behind the scenes to also help us, slowly make those next steps as well. And some things that we'll, be talking about hopefully in the next few months or years, and looking back at it and going, yeah, that was a huge thing for us.
Yeah, I like that. A lot of little things add up to like kind of being a big thing. And
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
true throughout any season, but more so in, I think, college it's so difficult because of the constant turnover. There's no two
Yeah,
teams that are the same ever.
yeah, there
And very salient point. Well, Brian, as always, thank you for being here, man. It is great to chat with you. Very excited for this year. I got to be honest, I hate the month of July. It kills me as I wait for these and these opportunities to chat with people. And I'm very excited to see once again what you guys do. I've got you pegged starting fifth, which is kind of where you started. You started last year in the top four, but you dropped down to five after losing
I
to
would
Stanford.
I would tell you you're crazy if you had us anywhere else.
Yeah. Well, you got to earn it here at Water
Yeah,
Polo Wednesday.
yeah,
You got to
you can't
earn
move
that
up
placement.
you can't move up unless you earn it, in my opinion, and
Yeah.
we haven't earned it yet. So
Yeah. Well, you'll sure get your chance this year, and I think a good test of Davis and Pacific in that first weekend, and
yep.
then of course Pepperdine a couple weeks later. My goodness. So have fun with it, my man. Thank you so much
All
for
right.
being here. As always, we appreciate the opportunity not only to have you, but to break the news of Karlo Dragocevic and of course Viktor Savic and your whole recruiting class. So thank you very much, Brian. We appreciate you very much.
No, I appreciate it, Wes. I think it's fun to be able to announce our recruiting class. I know we've been leaking a few on Instagram, but it's fun to talk about this. It's fun to talk about the group coming back and the scheduling and all that stuff. I think a lot of people don't know how much it all goes into what eventually turns into the product in December's. So.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's a lot of work for us, and it's not a quarter of the work that you guys do. So, again, good luck this season. Looking forward to seeing you in a few weeks.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate it.